Humans come out of vaginas. That is the source. That's the tunnel. You know, I don't take this shit lightly, man. I just don't.
So can you just start by talking about how you're feeling right now?
I feel like I'm coming off of just trying to get here. But now that I'm here, I feel relaxed.
Can you talk a little bit about what your style says about you?
My style is free. I like to represent my spirituality. I like to represent the different stones that I like to wear. I have a lot of tattoos in very noticeable places because that's a part of my style too, I guess. I see everything as a meditation. So my form of meditation isn't necessarily sitting down in lotus pose, listening to a gong. I do that sometimes. But for me, this is a form of meditation. When I'm driving, that's a form of meditation. When I'm eating, when I'm thinking, you know, just because I'm always here. I worked really hard, and I work hard to keep my alignment and to keep my presence and to always be living with the intention of exactly how I want to live.
And was that always the case?
No. I went through this moment in my life where I was not happy. I did not like myself. The relationship that I was in did not serve me. I was reactive. I was defensive. I projected a lot. I expected a lot. And I went to the doctor. The doctor told me that my thyroid gland was a little bit elevated. And I went and told my mom. She just looked at me and was like, that's not your thyroid gland. Like, there's nothing wrong with your thyroid gland. You're just not living the way that you want to live. You're living a lie right now. You're going to die one day, right? In any moment that you're not living precisely how you want to live, you're wasting your time. And it just clicked.
Can you talk a little bit about the assumptions that people make about you based on your appearance?
I give no attention to the assumptions people make about me, so I have no idea on how to even answer that question. I'm creating my experience on this planet. What somebody else thinks of that is their complete opinion. It has nothing to do with me.
Can you take off your jacket?
And your amazing hat?
So can you just talk a little bit about what was going on in your life? Like, give us a little bit more context on where you were in your life pre your whole awakening.
So, beginning of 2011, going into 2012, I was suffering with a reoccurring bacterial vaginosis infection that I could not get rid of. I would get my period and then I would get the infection straight away. I would take the medicine, it would go away, but then the same thing would happen the next month. That year, I was just, I was working at Whole Foods. I was cleaning people's houses. Before that, I was a pharmacy technician for 10 years. I decided I didn't want to do that anymore, which is why I went into cleaning. I was making decent money, but again, I wasn't making it unless I was out working and busting my ass, I had already been working since I was 14 years old. I wanted to do extracurricular things, and my mother, she didn't have the money for that. You know what I mean? So it was like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, baby, but you're going to have to figure it out because we're surviving right now. So my mother really taught me how to look after myself when she did that. What she did is she started to build the muscle of me not expecting anybody to do anything for me, even when I'm only 14, 15 years old. But the cool thing is that time in my life is what prepared me when we fast forward the story and I'm having this bacterial vaginosis infection for a year. One morning, I had a very vivid dream with my grandmother. And in the dream, she told me that she had been walking with me and seeing me struggle with this. My grandmother died when my mother was young, so I've never even met her. But she told me she had been watching me struggle with BV. And she handed me a piece of paper, and on the paper was a list of ingredients. And that's what she told me was going to solve my problem. So what happened is I made the product, and a few days later I started using it. And like 4 or 5 days after using it, because I was having a bacterial vaginosis infection at the time, everything that I was dealing with went away. I have met with my ancestors in my dreams. I've never had a connection that was as clear as that. I mean, literally a dead person told me what to do, and the shit worked. The crazy thing is that every single thing that I have done has prepared me for the moment that I'm in now. I worked in pharmacy that taught me how to make things. I cleaned houses that taught me how to be an entrepreneur. I worked at Whole Foods that taught me how to serve a customer. I became a broker that taught me how to talk to a buyer. I was an area sales manager for a startup that taught me how to work for a startup. I have a profound respect for the way that my life has shaken out. If I don't treat this with the right respect, with the right humility, with the right faith, that will be the moment that things can crumble. Where my head is at and where my spirit is at and where my alignment is at with my company, there just isn't much that can shake me. And the Honey Pot Company is literally a vagina company. We make really efficacious, beautiful, clean, effective products for vulvas, for vaginas, for the whole thing. This has to come from a really beautiful place because it's touching so many people in such a sensitive place. If there was no vagina, like the planet wouldn't be here. That's some profound shit. Humans come out of vaginas. That is the source. That's the tunnel. I don't take this shit lightly, man. I just don't.
So can you just take us back a little bit to the moment that you were experiencing burnout and feeling unhappy and kind of what happened at that point?
When we had started Honey Pot, especially when you fast forward to when we were about to get into Target, I was working a 60 to 70 hour a week job that required me to travel on top of doing Honey Pot. Me and my brother, who's my co-founder, we were raising money. We had never raised money before. We had never gotten into a volume retailer, a mass market retailer. So there was just a lot of firsts happening. And then there was like a deadline, and that was getting into Target. That was a hard year because I was the ex-husband. I was working on bringing him here from another country. I was working this job. We were pitching investors on the go and in person, and I had to perform to get into Target. We had to meet the order, but also I had to make them feel comfortable that I knew and my team knew what we were doing, right? Even though they knew and we knew, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. There's no fucking plan B.
Can you take off your earrings now?
That was a moment in my life that I was very desperate. I had just heard back from an investor that they were going to pass. I think I had like a little baby nervous breakdown, like in the car, like we had to pull over, and I had to like get out and like breathe because I was having a panic attack. It was bad. I think that was my lowest moment then. And then me looking at all the things that didn't feel right in my life and saying, you know what, I'm not doing that shit no more. All the way to the relationship that I was in.
What do you feel wasn't healthy about that?
I don't think we really liked each other. I didn't feel comfortable being who I was in the relationship. I felt small. And I agreed to feel small, right? That wasn't just him making me feel small. He had his part in that, right? But I agreed with him to let me feel that fucking way. Why do things that don't make you happy? Why be in something with somebody who doesn't accept you for who you are? Sure, it's scary because I love this person. I want them to be well. But look, I don't want to be here no more. I just can't. I'm done. That was a big thing that really needed to be let go of.
So what would you say is your biggest insecurity that you have worked on overcoming or that you are still working on right now?
In intimate relationships, because it was in an intimate relationship that I was constantly told that I needed to change, that I was crazy, that there was something wrong with my head. It was in an intimate relationship that would happen. And so sometimes a fear creeps in with like, what if I'm not enough? What if I am crazy? It doesn't stay very long, but sometimes I do get fearful of that.
What was it about yourself that you felt like you had to repress in order to kind of fit in?
How strong I am, how assertive I am. Naturally, I can be a little masculine, and sometimes I would be told, like, you're not a man, you need to stop acting like a man. It's like, I'm not a man, I'm not trying to be anything, but that energy can show up naturally. I mean, This is just the human that I am. I can't control that shit. So being comfortable with the masculine side of me and the feminine side, being comfortable with my body because I'm not a little girl, being comfortable with my sexuality because I like girls and I like guys. You know, at this moment, I really love a guy, right? But that doesn't mean that at another moment that I couldn't be loving a guy and a girl. Being comfortable with how passionate I am about the things that I'm passionate about, and I'm very fucking passionate about my life. Saying exactly what I want to fucking say.
Can you talk about when you feel the most vulnerable?
In intimate relationships. Because I haven't had like a bunch of boyfriends and girlfriends in my life, right? I've had some, but I haven't had a bunch of them. Because I've always been so focused on working for myself and taking care of myself. And I've always been this super, super duper independent person. My business mind is really developed. Me, when I'm loving someone or liking someone, that's a very vulnerable space for me because I just haven't spent as much time on it as I have working for myself, raising money, grinding. You know, I've had to sacrifice a lot intimately in order to build this thing over here.
If you open up and you're vulnerable, like, what's the fear?
I think sometimes the fear is receiving love. I think sometimes the fear is like, what if this human leaves? Sometimes the fear is, what if this human doesn't like me the way that I like them? What if I'm doing too much? What if I'm giving too much? Anything that I do, I give it 1,000%. So I don't really know how to just be halfway. Most people do not operate that way.
I really understand that feeling of being misunderstood for your intensity and for your passion. But at the end of the day, you still have the need.
Oh, yeah. I don't need a man to take care of me financially. I do need to share love and like and space. I need intimacy. I need somebody to comfort me. I need somebody to fucking be strong for me. I need somebody to give me advice. I need somebody to make love to me. Like, I need that shit, right? Like, we all need that. And if we act like we don't, like, you're playing yourself.
So just like as far as like your whole burnout journey goes and the shift that you've made since, like how have you begun to take care of yourself?
Money is not everything to me. It's literally just a tool for me to do the beautiful shit that I like to do. My happiness, though, and my well-being and my health, that is everything for me. Even if I'm living in a fucking cardboard box. Fuck honeypot and anything else if I'm not happy and I'm not well.
What's your favorite part of your body?
I think my midsection. You know, I like its imperfection. It used to be a place that wasn't comfortable for me, but I've gotten really comfortable with how my body looks and feels, the softness of it. Sometimes it's bloated, sometimes it's not. Sometimes when I sit down, I don't have a roll. Sometimes I do, you know, it just does what it wants. I actually quite like that because I used to not appreciate my body for the size that it is and for what it is, when in fact, this is my fucking body. Like, even if I ate nothing, I would still be a thick girl. This is my body shape. And I've just gotten really comfortable with it.
So last question. Why in your body, in your skin, in your journey, why is it a good place to be?
Because this is the only place I am. You know? It's the only place I am.
Hi, we're Elisa and Lily, the mother and daughter creators of StyleLikeU.
This week's episode of What's Underneath is brought to you by True & Co.
We are so deeply thankful to True & Co. for supporting us in bringing these new episodes to life, and for standing behind our mission of accepting the skin that you're in and stepping into your whole and most powerful self.
Learn more about our sponsors and their stories in the description below.
We are also really excited to let you know that you can get the extended version of this interview in the What's Underneath podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
If you were inspired by Bea's story, please take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel over here,
And don't forget to click the bell so each Thursday you're reminded of when we've dropped a new episode.
And thank you from the bottom of our hearts to all of our members who continually support our growth. You can join them by heading over to patreon.com/StyleLikeU.